Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Savita from Maharaja Agrisan University, Baddi, Himachal Pradesh. Today, we are going to talk on module Business Cycle under the paper Managerial Economics. After completing this module, the students will be able to understand the concept of business or trade cycles, features of business cycles, phases of business cycles, types of business cycles, and various theories of business cycles. Business cycles or trade cycles refers to the continuous fluctuations in economic activity in the economy as a whole. Fluctuations in economic activity are a feature of every economy and pose a persistent problem in the short run normally. These short-run fluctuations in economic activity, which are reflected in output and employment levels, are called trade cycles or business cycles. So, we can say that business cycle is an alternate expansion and contraction in overall business activities. It is regular fluctuations in income, output, and employment which tends to be self-reinforcing or cumulative. It refers to wave-like fluctuations and is invariability start in the industrial sector and then spread itself over the other sectors of the economy quickly, because in modern economy the different sectors are interrelated. In short, business cycles or trade cycles are the ups and downs in economic activities. So, business cycles boom in one period and slump in the subsequent period in economic activities are essentially continuous features of the economic development of a country. Business cycles influence business decisions tremendously and set the trends for future business. As we know, there are 5 phases of business cycles. These are depression, recovery, prosperity, boom, and recession. As the name suggests, the period of prosperity open up new and large opportunities for the investment, employment, and production and promotes business in the economy. On the other hand, period of depression reduces business opportunities and investment as well as employment in the economy. Thus, in order to earn maximum profit, an entrepreneur must analyze the economic environment of the period before taking his important business decisions. Features of trade cycle. From the above definitions, we can draw the following features. One is cyclical fluctuations are recurring in nature. A trade cycle contains self-generating forces which tend to terminate one phase and bring the other phase of the cycle. A trade cycle is cumulative self-reinforcing. Trade cycles are prevailing in their impacts. They affect virtually every part of the economy. Keynes pointed out that a trade cycle is characterized by the presence of crisis. Business cycles, by and large, follow a pattern of development. Business cycles occur periodically. It is synchronic in nature, which means that changes not occur only in single industry but in the whole industry. Business cycles are international in character. Investment and consumption of durable goods are most affected by business cycles. One of the most important features of business cycles is that consumption of non-durable goods and services doesn't change much during the phases of different trade cycles. The cycle will not have identical spacing, and thereby asymmetric nature of the cycle exhibit a different time period of occurrence. Most of the macroeconomic variables are affected by the cyclical movement. In the upswing phase, output, prices, employment, income shows a upward trend, while an opposite trend is observed in downswing phase. Even though the trend is similar, but the magnitude of impact may be different. Phases of business cycles. Business cycles have shown different phases, the study of which is useful for the proper understanding of market. In general, there are two phases of business cycles, and that is prosperity and depression. But there are some stages in between two. These are expansion or boom, or upswing or prosperity of business activities, peak of boom or upper turning point, recession or contraction or downswing or depression. Through the benefit of depression or lower turning point. These phases are shown in the following figure. As it is shown in the figure, with the revival of economic activities, the economy moves into expansion phase, but after reaching its peak point, contraction or recession or downswing starts. When the recession gathered momentum, it is called depression, and that downswing continues till the lowest turning point, which is also called trough. After that, economy starts recovering. It ultimately tries to enter into an expansion phase, and the process continues. Now, we discuss the various phases of business cycles. These are expansion and boom. The various characteristics of economy in its expansion phase are increase in output, increase in investment, increase in employment, increase in aggregate demand, and increase in sales, increase in profits, increase in wholesale and retail prices, increase in per capita output, and rise in standard of living. There is absence of involuntary unemployment, but structural and frictional unemployment prevail in the economy. So, when expansion gathered momentum, we have prosperity in the economy, and in this phase, gap between potential GNP and actual GNP is zero. It means in this phase, level of production is at maximum. So, In prosperity phase, there is a high level of effective demand, employment, and income. People enjoy a high standard of living also. In the later stages of prosperity, it may happen sometimes that banks start reducing credit or profit expectations changes adversely and trader becomes doubtful and future state of the economy. However, different economists have different views regarding the possible reasons for the end of boom phase and start of downswing in economic activity. Some have argued that the contraction in bank credit may cause downswing, and in the eyes of others, sudden collapse of expected rate of profit is the major cause of downswing. Recession and depression. In this phase, economic activities slide down their normal level. In this phase, not only output decreases, but the level of employment also reduces, and the result of this, there is fall in GNP also. Depression is a just contrast of prosperity, as there is presence of involuntary unemployment in the economy, output and trade declines, profits and wages fall, as a result income also, decline in investment and aggregate demand. In depression phase, there is fall in interest rates also, and with low rate of interest, people demand for money holding increases. All construction activities come to an end. Durable consumer goods and capital goods industries are hit badly. In short, all economic activities touch the bottom. Through and recovery. When economic activities touch the bottom level, the phase of through is reached. It is a phase where capital stock is allowed to depreciate even without replacement. Technological advancement makes the capital goods obsolete. In this situation, if a bank starts expanding credit facilities for the advancement of technology, new types of machines and other capital goods, then it brings a recovery in the economy. In this phase, some firms plans investment, some going for renovation programs, and some undertakes both. This step will generate construction activities in both capital and consumer goods sector. As a result, factor of production fully utilized, wages and other input prices move upward, though it may not in a uniform rate but in increasing trend. So, when this process gathered momentum, economy again enters into the phase of recovery and then expansion. Thus, the business cycles going on. Types of business cycles. Following the writing of Professor James Arthur and Schumpeter, we can classify business cycle into three types based on the underlying time period of existence of the cycle as follows. Short kitchen cycle, very short or minor period of the cycle, approximately 40 months duration. Longer jugular cycle, major cycles composed of 3 minor cycles and of the duration of 10 years or so. Very long quadrative wave, very long wave of cycle made up of 6 major cycles and takes more than 60 years to run its course of duration. Now we are going to discuss theories of business cycle. A business cycle is a complex phenomenon which is common to every economic system. Several theories of business cycles have been propounded from time to time to explain the causes of trade cycles. In order to analyze the problem of trade cycle, it is essential to review the important theories of trade cycles. Hawtray's monetary theory of business cycle. Hawtray was of opinion that in depression, monetary factors play a critical role. The main factor affecting the flow of money and money supply is the credit position by the bank. He made the classical quantity theory of money as the basis of his trade cycle theory. According to him, both monetary and non-monetary factors also affect trade. His theory is basically the product of supply of money and expansion of credit. This expansion of credit and other money supply instrument creates a cumulative process of expansion which in turn increase aggregate demand. This theory is based upon the following facts. Consumers' total expenditure comprises expenditure on consumption and investment. Consumers' total outlay is the total money income of community. Stock market is very sensitive. Bank credit plays an important role in money supply. When the process of expansion starts with the credit creation process and money supply, then economy easily attains a boom phase. During boom, bank realizes that they have reduced their results due to over credit creation, which is dangerous. Expansion of credit is stopped, which set the downward tendencies in motion. It is a common phenomenon that when there is no credit expansion in the economy, then there is no prosperity. Heavy shortage of bank reserve occurs due to drainage of cash from the banking system. Then this phase converted into depression due to shortage of money supply in the economy. In simple words, we can say that with the decline in effective demand, depression phase starts. According to this theory, the only cause of fluctuations in business is due to instability of bank credit. So, it can be concluded that Hawtray's theory of business cycle is basically depend upon the money supply, bank credits and rate of interest. Criticism of the theory. Hawtray neglected the role of non-monetary factors like prosperous agriculture, inventions, rate of profit, and stock of capital. It only concentrates on supply of money. Increase in interest rates is not only due to economic prosperity but also due to other factors. Overemphasis on the role of wholesalers, too much confidence in monetary policy, neglect the role of expectations, incomplete theory of trade cycles. Innovation theory. The innovation theory of business cycle is invented by an American economist, Joseph Schumpeter. According to this theory, the main causes of business cycles are over innovations. He takes the meaning of innovation as the introduction and application of such techniques which can help in increasing production by exploiting the existing resources, not by discoveries or innovations. Innovations are always inspired by profits. Whenever innovations are introduced, it results into profitability, then shared by other producers and result into decline in profitability. Then it further leads to a new innovation and generates profits. Schumpeter has classified innovation in following categories: introduction of new type of product, the introduction of new technique of production, discovery of new markets, finding new sources of raw material, changing or improving the old source of raw material for better productivity, introduction of new method to the management. Once innovations is introduced, producer has to manage the market for the product. According to Schumpeter, innovations lead to short waves. The money market and banks also play significant role in innovation theory. He also explains the upswings and downswings of the business cycle with the help of innovations. The upswing wave starts with the profitable innovations. When a new raw material, new technology takes place, it will result higher profit to the producer. They progress and reach to peak position with the help of credit facilities given by banks or other financial institutions. Once boom position is reached, market flooded with multiple products, and as a result there is decline in profitability. Again, some time again after some time, new inventions are take place and wave of recovery starts. He assumes the stoppage of innovations and lack of innovation by the entrepreneur as the main reason of recession in the economy. This theory has also suffered some criticism. Keynesian theory of business cycle. Aggregate effective demand of an economy occupies a center stage in Keynesian economics as it determines the level of income, output, and employment in the short run. Aggregate demand is composed of total expenditure of the consumers on consumption goods and producers on investment goods. However, fluctuations in aggregate demand can be explained by the fluctuations in investment demand, as consumption demand is more or less stable in the short run. Investment demand is conditioned upon the expected rate of profit or marginal efficiency of capital by following Keynesian terminology, and rate of interest. Again, rate of interest is found more or less sticky in the downward direction in the short run, and thereby expected rate of profit plays an instrumental role in explaining variations in investment demand. Overall, the theory suggests that fluctuations in business cycle can be explained by the perceptions on expected rate of profit of the investors. In other words, the downswing in business cycle is caused by the collapse in the marginal efficiency of capital, while revival of the economy is attributed to the optimistic perceptions on the expected rate of profit. Moreover, Keynesian multiplier theory establishes linkages between change in investment and change in income and employment. However, the theory fails to explain the cumulative character both in the upswing and downswing phases of business cycle and cyclic fluctuations in economic activity with the passage of time. Hicks theory of business cycle. Hicks extended the earlier multiplier accelerator interaction theory by considering real-world situation. In reality, income and output do not tend to explode. Rather, they are located at a range specified by the upper ceiling and lower floor determined by the autonomous investment. In the theory, it is assumed that autonomous investment tends to grow at a constant percentage rate over the long run. The acceleration coefficient and multiplier coefficient remain constant throughout the different phases of trade cycle. Savings and investment coefficient are such that upward movements take away from equilibrium. The actual output fails to adjust with the equilibrium growth path over time. In fact, it has a tendency to run above it and then below it, and thereby constitute cyclical fluctuations over time. This basic intuition can be shown with the help of following figure. In this figure, the lines CC and FF set the upper ceiling and lower floor within which the cycle moves. The line EE indicates the equilibrium growth path determined by the autonomous investment and the combined influence of multiplier and the accelerator. Starting at point along with the EE assumes that there is a sudden shocks affecting favorably the investment opportunity. As a result, output will move along the expansion path from point A to point B. After touching the upper ceiling line CC, the expansion must end at point C and a contraction must follow to move toward point D. Consequently, after hitting the floor, there may be a crawling movement through the path D to E. With the passage of time, once the income movement begins, the accelerator starts to work favorably and upswing of cyclical movements gather momentum. The economy again moves toward the full employment ceiling CC. Although Hicksian theory has various merits, but it suffers from some weakness also. Some of these are wrong assumptions of constant multiplier and acceleration coefficient. Secondly, highly mechanical and mathematical device, wrong assumption of no excess capacity, and full employment ceiling is not independent. Samuelson theory of business cycle. Professor Samuelson is an eminent economist who built a trade cycle model by integrating the theory of multiplier and acceleration principle. Samuelson model shows how multiplier and acceleration interact with each other in order to generate income as well as to increase consumption and investment demand more than expectations, which cause cyclic economic fluctuations. This effect is also called as leverage effect or supermultiplier. For the proper understanding of this model, first we know the concept of autonomous investment and derived investment. Autonomous investment is induced by the government with the objective of social welfare. It is also called public investment. The autonomous investment is the investment which is done for the sake of new inventions in technique of production. Derived investment is the investment undertaken in capital equipments which is induced by increase in consumption. This theory is based on some assumptions such as there is no excess production capacity in an industry, current year consumption is based in previous year's income, government is not involved in any activity and there is no foreign trade, etc. According to this theory, process of multiplier starts working when autonomous investment takes place in the economy. With the autonomous investment, income of the people rises and there is increase in the demand of consumer goods. It directly affected the marginal propensity to consume. If there is no excess production capacity in the existing industry, then existing stock of capital would not be adequate to produce consumer goods to meet the rising demand. Now, in order to meet the consumers' requirements, producers will make new investment which is derived investment and the process of acceleration principles comes into operation. Then there is rise in income again, which in the same manner continue the process of income propagation. So, in this way, multiplier and acceleration interact and make the income grow at faster rate than expected. After reaching its peak, income comes down to bottom and again start rising. This theory has also some weaknesses such as this model only concentrates on the impact of the multiplier and acceleration and it ignored the role of producers' expectations, changing business requirements and consumers' preferences, etc. It is not practically possible to compute the effect of multiplier and acceleration principle. It has wrong assumptions of constant capital output ratio. So students, let's now summarize what we have learned in this module. Business cycles is characterized by periodic non-random movement, wave-like fluctuations, critical movement, non-identical spacing. Three types of business cycles: short kitchen cycle, longer juggler cycle, and very long conductive wave. Business cycle generally passes through four phases, that is prosperity, recession, depression, and recovery. Indian economy experienced a gradual improvement in the business cycle in recent years. Business cycle has a rich theoretical foundation. Some of the well-known contributors are classical economists such as Smith, Miller, and Ricardo, Schumpeter, Hansen, Metzler, Harrod, Kalicki, Samuelson, Caldor, Hicks, Goodwin, and Dusenberry. This module outlines a brief account on the contributions made by modern economists, that is, Keynesian theory of business cycle, Samuelson theory of multiplier accelerator interactions, and Hicks theory of business cycles. Thank you.